Plenty of powerful weapons out there in Destiny 2, and if you're a new or returning player, then things can be a little bit overwhelming. Today I'm going to have a look at some of the best power weapons in Destiny 2 and split them by DLC locked and free to play, so hopefully there'll be something in here for everyone. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below for all the latest Destiny 2 content and turn on notifications by hitting that bell. Well, before we kick off, let me know down in the comments which are your favourite power weapons to use in the game, and let me know which game mode you play in most. Do you hang out mainly in PvE content, or do you prefer PvP, or are you a Dredgen and love Gambit? Well, let's dive into the best power weapons in the game. We're going to kick off with the DLC locked power weapons. Let's start off with the Lament, and the Lament is an exotic power sword, and looking at the perks, we've got Banshee's Wail. So it increases damage, shield bypass, and adds shield piercing to all attacks. And you gain stacks when dealing damage to revved attacks. Additional stacks increase the damage and damage resistance of heavy attacks. We've also got revved consumption, so damaging a combatant heals the wielder. So this is probably the best PvE weapon in the game right now, although things did change in Season of the Chosen with a 15% nerf to swords, but it is still really, really dominant. So this sword is currently available through a quest in Beyond Light called the Lost Lament, and given it's a Beyond Light exotic, you do need the Beyond Light expansion to access the quest and the exotic weapon, but given its power, it's definitely worth it. Well, next up we've got Anarchy, and Anarchy is an exotic power grenade launcher that features something called arc traps. So these are grenades that stick to surfaces and chain arc bolts to other mines, and it's got max velocity stats, 64 for stability, 63 for handling, and it's a 150 rounds per minute grenade launcher, and this is one of the best in the game for DPS, and it's going to help you take down dungeon, raid bosses, nightfall strike bosses and all that, so it's definitely a good one to pick up. You can get this one from the exotic kiosk in the tower. Next up we got Xenophage, and Xenophage is a machine gun for the power slot, and its main perk is pyrotoxin rounds, and that fires high powered explosive ammo. It's a solar weapon, it's got max stats for impact, pretty good range at 71, and it's a 120 RPM machine gun with 20 in the magazine, but it is a very strange machine gun, as normally they do have a high rate of fire and lots of ammo, but this one is a little bit different. As well as pyrotoxin rounds, it comes with full bore for that increase in range and small decrease in stability, and high caliber rounds which knock the target back further. It's also got rangefinder and finally composite stock. So you can pick this one from the exotic quest on the moon. You can check out a guide for how to get Xenophage on the channel. Next up we've got Code Duello, and Code Duello is a legendary power rocket launcher with a high impact frame, meaning it's slow firing and it's got high damage. And the weapon is more accurate when stationary and aiming down sights. So this one can roll with chain reaction, lasting impression, unrelenting cluster bomb, Frenzy and Ambitious Assassin in the 4th slot, and really you can never go wrong with Cluster Bomb, and Frenzy is another new one too. We get increased damage, handling and reload speed for being in combat for an extended period of time. Well, to get this one is a random drop from the end of Battlegrounds, so what I want to do is load up the Hammer of Proving with Cabal Gold and then smash open the loot chest at the end of Battlegrounds for a chance at this weapon. It's worth noting as well the buff to rocket launchers in Season of the Chosen, and there's a really good charge with light mod called Argent Ordnance that increases the damage on that. So definitely recommend picking up a rocket launcher this season. Well, next up we got Thermal Erosion, and Thermal Erosion is a legendary power machine gun. It's a rapid fire frame, meaning it's got deeper ammo reserves and slightly faster reload when the magazine is empty. So for PvP, Killing Wind, where final blows increase the mobility, range and handling for a short duration, and Dynamic Sway Reduction for that increase in accuracy and stability when holding down the trigger, both of those perks will be really, really good for PvP. Whereas for PvE, Zen Moment, where the damage with this weapon causes increased stability, and also Demolitionist would be a good option, and Demolitionist helps you get that grenade energy back. So currently the most popular role of Thermal Erosion at the moment has Zen Moment and Wellspring, with Wellspring generating ability energy on kills. Well, to get this one, you have to run Empire Hunts And you can get this specific weapon from running the Warrior Empire Hunt, and there are 3 parts to the quest. And to get access to Empire Hunts, you are going to need to complete the campaign in Beyond Light, and then clear the post-campaign missions with Variks. Well, that is it for the DLC locked power weapons. Next up, let's have a look at the free-to-play power weapons, and we're going to start with Falling Guillotine. So Falling Guillotine is a legendary power sword that sits in the power slot, deals void damage. It comes with a vortex frame where you can launch a heavy spin attack, and heavy attacks are stronger with full energy, and the attacks bypass elemental shields. For PvE, you want to be looking for something like Relentless Strikes, where landing 3 light attacks within a short time grants sword ammo, and also Whirlwind Blade. So Relentless and Whirlwind Blade is pretty good for all swords, but this one especially when you're dealing big damage with that heavy spin attack. For PvP, Counter Attack, where blocking an attack immediately after guarding increases damage for a short time, and Tireless Blade, where sword ammo is granted for every power sword kill. That is a decent one for PvP. So Falling Guillotine is now a random drop from activities, so keep your fingers crossed and complete activities like Strikes, Crucible Gambit, public events, Nightfalls, and also rank up at vendors. Well, next up we've got the Swarm, and the Swarm is a legendary power machine gun with a high impact frame, meaning it's slow firing and high damage. And again, this weapon is more accurate when stationary and aiming down sights. A decent role for PvE is Outlaw and Vorpal Weapon for that increase in damage against bosses on Vorpal, and also precision kills decreasing the reload time with Outlaw. For PvP, Dynamic Sway Reduction and Zen Moment would be a decent role to go for. But to get the Swarm, you do need to run Nightfalls, and it's a random drop chance at the end. So as you progress up the difficulty levels, you do get more of a chance at the weapon, so I would focus on Legend or Master Nightfalls for the most efficient way of farming this weapon, but do be aware RNG is definitely in play. Well, next up we've got another sword, and it's Temptation's Hook. So Temptation's Hook is a heavy sword, comes with some interesting perks and a whole load of benefits. So first of all, it's a caster frame, so you can launch a heavy projectile attack, and the attacks are stronger when you have full energy. Curated role comes with Tireless Blade, where you get sword ammo for every powered kill, and Surrounded too. It also comes with Balanced Guard for good all-round balanced defences, and Honed Edge for an increase in damage. The Temptation's Hook is another random drop from activities, so keep your fingers crossed and complete activities like Strikes, Crucible Gambit, etc, etc. It is in the world loot pool for the moment, so keep doing those activities and hopefully it'll drop for you. And finally today we've got the Royal Entry. So the Royal Entry is a legendary power rocket launcher with a precision frame, where this weapon fires a small auto-tracking missile, and missiles lock onto targets when aimed. So for PvP, Quick Draw and Cluster Bomb would be a good role, as getting the rockets into your hands and then firing off a round that ends up in a cluster bomb. Hopefully that could take out more than one Guardian if you're lucky. Quick Draw and Wellspring would be another decent PvP role. For PvE, Field Prep and Chain Reaction would be really good, or maybe Field Prep and Lasting Impression. And Field Prep is good as you get increased ammo reserves, faster reload, stow and ready when you're crouching, and Lasting Impression is a good one too, and this is where your rocket sticks in your enemy and blows up a few seconds later. To get this one, you are going to have to run Strikes or Nightfalls, as this is a playlist specific weapon. There's a random chance to get this to drop at the end of Vanguard activities like Strikes and Nightfalls, much like the bottom dollar for Gambit and Frozen Orbit for Crucible. Well, let me know down in the comments what's your favourite power weapon, and if you think something is missing from this list. Well, that is it for this guide for the best power weapons in Destiny 2, and as always, thank you so much for watching. For more Destiny 2 content like this, hit that subscribe button down below and subscribe to This Week in Video Games. If you want to join the community, check out the Discord link in the description, or you can follow me on Twitter at TWIVG Podcast. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, liking and sharing the video would really help me out. Otherwise, check out the other videos on the channel. Thanks again. See you soon.